What is good, rookies? Welcome back. Supercoach 2025 is here and we are ready to go. If you would have noticed, there hasn't been any content since pretty much the season wrap up for 2024. And that's purely because I was just wanting to document my journey throughout it. I started very late, but this year we're starting early. We're starting at pracky matches, we're starting preseason, and we're going all the way through. And we're hopefully going to finish better than what we did last season, which was like in the 41,000s. We were looking in the top 20,000, which was like where I wanted to sit. Aimed for top 10%, didn't happen. Ran out of trades and just first year problems, really. But this year we're planning to take all our lessons from last year, throw it into this team, hope for a better outcome, be a bit more strategical and not wing it as much. So what you can kind of expect from the videos is not a deep analysis or anything like that. We will analyze here and there, and we will go through like options and what you could potentially look at doing from, again, a very much a rookie coach perspective. This whole channel, this whole journey is about someone who has kind of come into it not really a clue on best strategies, best ways to handle trades, buy structures, all that sort of stuff, and just kind of joined me on the journey because I know there are people that have been doing this for years and years and years, and there are people that are just joining in now as a first year and getting amongst it. So for those that are getting amongst it, welcome in. If you are somehow capturing my video and watching this before some of the OGs, this is not going to be a deep analysis channel. If you want deep analysis and everything like that, go check out the following. Go check out Supercoach Edge, the center bounce. You've got DR, which is Supercoach DR. You've got Spills, you've got Janeth, you've got, who else have you got? You've got so many people out there that just do so much good content. You've got Shorty does some analysis too, another local legend. So there's a few different channels, bigger OG channels that you can throw out there. I know there's Swizz as well. There's like Insight Fantasy Football. There's just so many. There's so many. If you just go look up them, they have some really, really good videos. How could I ever forget the Skodfather himself? How rude of me. Go check out these guys because they put in a lot of effort, and I know that there has been a guide created which has like 364 pages. So I'll leave a link in there. There's no affiliates or anything like that, but these guys are doing wonders for new people like myself that have come in over the last season or two, and for those that are just starting out this season. So go check them all out. Go watch all their videos. That is where I've gotten all my knowledge from on the basics of how to play Supercoach, what to look for, how to research plays, all that fun stuff. So it's a quick shout out to them because all of these guys have been very welcoming. One as a player, but also as like a content creator in this as well. I get nothing but love from these guys whenever I've popped up or they recognize me or see me coming in because their streams, because I always do, because I'm always looking for that edge to get ahead. But with all that kind of said, you'll see there's a code above me. So if you're new, if you're 6 years in, doesn't really matter. I've just created an open league for us. This is purely bragging rights. If we get the channel to somewhere where we can do a prize, awesome. There may be a prize at the end. If we get to like 200 subscribers before end of season, we'll put a prize in. So that's a goal. If we get 200 subscribers, first, second, and third, we'll get a little prize from myself. Take out the championship. Now, with that all said, today's video is kind of just going through our team, going through my thought process on how we're going to structure the team. You can see I've got a watch list below as well of players that I'm kind of keen on up to this point. So I've seen a few match sim reports, intra-club reports, all that sort of stuff. And I've kind of developed a basic idea of where I want to go with the team and what that structure looks like. Structures this year are going to look very interesting. The OG structure of Guns and Rookies can always generally work. But in the same hand, we've got a lot of mid-price madness happening this year. So without further ado, I'm not going to do a cinematic reveal of my team. We're just going to jump straight into it because the more I can share, the more we can kind of run through. Now, you can see there's probably going to be a few standouts in regards to some people that are going to be very, very popular. Sheasel being one, Sherry being another, Horn Francis being another. And you can see we're kind of missing a few, kind of weighing up where we want to kind of spend the cash this year. So we'll go through the defenders first, because defenders I think are the most interesting. Reason being, I don't know if we have a lot of good rookie options this year. You can see I've put in the rookies that I think might generate cash. One I'm totally unsure of is Trainer, but I've seen good reports about Leak coming in and potentially sliding into the best 22. Same for Patton, and obviously saw Reed in the practice match against Bulldogs yesterday. I'm recording this on Sunday the 16th. On the 15th, there was a practice match between Western Bulldogs and Essendon, and Reed finally got his hands in a game. Hopefully his fragile self doesn't get injured, but he just looks absolutely massive in that back line. Took a lot of intercepts and caused a lot of trouble for the Bulldogs forward line to try and get some clean marks. So somewhat promising. May not get the big scores we're after, but I think if we're not really looking for big scores on the field, we're kind of just looking for consistent cash gen. So, who are we going to lock in for primos? Well, this is a little bit different because there's a few different plans here. So, Sheasel is a lock. Whitfield is locked in. The ones that aren't locked in, Mills is also locked in. You'd have to be silly not to take Mills at that price. Whether he gets some halfback time or if he goes into the mid, I think he's still going to generate some cash for us. So, I think that's an easy lock. Clark is probably the one I'm going to finish on, but some I'm considering depending on how they go with practice matches and preseason. We have Wagade Milra, who I think got injured towards the end of the Indigenous All-Stars game, which is why he was actually originally in Clark's place, but I saw him kind of get injured and I've just moved him on and just kept him on watch list. Maybe nothing, but I am interested to see how he goes since Sinclair is actually out for like the first 4 weeks-ish. I don't think he's going to... We had him in last year and he actually did okay. If he's not like top 6, he's maybe top 10, maybe top 12. But really we want to lock in like 3 keepers per line. That's like my initial aim, and then we can get some mid prices that could either be a keeper or be a stepping stone. So we've got Wagner Miller, we've got Roberts, McKercher, and then the rookies. So Roberts and McKercher are kind of like the 2 mid prices I'm looking at. I'm not really considering short just because of the lackluster averages, and I kind of want this person to be a keeper. I kind of need to be. Mills may be a keeper. He may be a stepping stone. We're unsure. But this third primo defender needs to be a keeper in some way or form. Now, Birch did look pretty good in the intra-club match sim. He spent a fair time going between like mid and half forward. And it looked okay. He was still doing a lot with the ball and doing really, really well. Just whether that role is going to be like Supercoach friendly. So he's on the watch list. I would kind of love to fill out the back line with like Kirch and Roberts and go like full mid price as well to maybe spend up in the midfield, lock in a Bont. And, obviously got Butters there, but lock in some other primos, maybe like a Merritt. We're not going to consider buys at the moment. We're just kind of talking about plays because buys will take their own effect. And I'll do the next video looking at buy structure. This is more about the plays that we're interested in. So we've got Sheasel, lock, Whitfield, lock, Clark could be another of people, Mills, and then we're either going to run, if we go like the 2 mid prices, so let's just say we drop Clark and we go Roberts and Kirch. Well, then we'll probably change our pattern because we don't want too many Sydney players. And then we find some other rooks that are going to be playing to give us on-field points, but also generate cash gen. So I don't really have any suggestions for rooks at the moment for the back line. There's obviously a couple of St Kilda players, like Sean Maker, who's one of them. But at the moment, it's really hard to suggest rooks because we don't really know that much. We have our hopes up on who could be playing, who could be potential on-field points for us. But until we start seeing some practice matches roll out in the preseason, it's really hard to justify. So I'm going to leave the back line there. I'm going to go straight to the mids. Now, there are 2 ways we can look at doing the mids. I am either considering getting 1 Uber and then doing, like the second cog in the machine and then going mid prices, which is what you currently see. Or we go 2 Ubers, so maybe we go like Bont and Butters. We only have Oliver and Peatling, and then we go Rooks. Now, we have a lot more options in regards to the midfield about who could potentially be some really good on-field points as well. So depending on how these practice matches and the preseason goes, we could actually see some really good on-field points come generate from some rookies. We saw Sardis go really, really well in his practice match with Bulldogs. He was just everywhere in regards to CBA tendencies, was nifty with the ball and just a dog after the ball. It was really, really good. So I think he's definitely a lock. Smith, I think everyone's just locking in Smith. He just looked really good in his intra-clubs. He's currently staying on. One that came out of nowhere, which I know a few people were kind of using him as a pod, and then it kind of got blown up because he did so well in the Indigenous All-Stars versus Fremantle match, was O'Driscoll. Scored like over 100 Supercoach points. He was just everywhere in the halfback. Just a lot was just involved a lot in a lot of the plays moving from corridor through the middle. So yeah, we obviously heard about Erasmus as well. I think his name is. He did okay. He did okay. He was there. I also was watching Simpson from Fremantle as well. I know a couple of people were looking at Simpson saying that he's in good form. He didn't really. He kind of wasn't out there. So far the O'Driscoll pick is leading in regards to like Fremantle rooks. So those 3 rooks that you see on screen at the moment on field are pretty much, unless we watch O'Driscoll not be able to get into the best 22, because a lot of these guys are fighting for that spot, he's probably pretty much a lock. You can see on the bench we've got Draper, Langford, and Nevitt. Now Draper, again, just heard really good reports back from the inter-club matches. Seems to be getting involved in CBAs and kick some goals. I think he kicked a goal or 2 as well. So he's just putting a lot of pressure and really fighting for that spot. Same for Langford and Nevitt. In the inter clubs, they've both been like listed in reports as well, being named, and just having really good things spoken about them. Generally speaking, if you see the club, talking about them a lot, it's pretty much a good sign that they're probably a good contender to be in the best 22 and get some game time, especially if they're going to be named in round 1. We want to see that from our rooks because we obviously want to start generating cash immediately. We don't want to have them sitting on our bench until round 5 or 6 and they start slowly generating cash. Not ideal. Not going to spend too much time talking about the rooks again, just because until we start seeing some preseason matches, we'll get a better idea of where our rooks are currently sitting, which will ultimately determine most of the team structure. Ruck's playing it safe, just going big old Gorney, even though he's a bit older. He just didn't let us down last year. So I think we just got to lock him in. Jerry, I think, again, he's just looking quite well in the inter-club pre-match that I watched on Saturday morning. He just looked good. He looked good. And there were a lot of good other players from North Melbourne that are standing out as well. And we got Reedy. So the Fremantle ruck situation is very interesting, given that Darcy's out again with injuries. Reedy and Jackson seem to be sharing the ruck time. Jackson seems to be playing like even just like midfield in general and just getting around the ball, but then also in forward. So I feel like they're throwing Jackson around a fair bit on the backnet board, whereas Reedy's kind of stepping in to take that prime ruck role. Now, whether that means he generates a lot of points, probably not, because it's a shared ruck position, but it does mean probably consistent cash gen. So something to consider, as most would have like Boyd in this position. Rowan Marshall has been said to come back be ready for round 1, so we're not really sure what that looks like. So just keep that in mind if you've got Boyd locked in your R3. The other options you can look at for rucks, obviously you've got English, you've got Nank, you've got Meek. Now I actually am very tempted to go with Nank as kind of a pod pick, but it would be a Sheringham Nank structure and kind of wait for Gawn to go down in price a little bit. But again, bit of a pod pick. He's only like 2% owned, so quite dangerous, quite risky, especially when ruck is quite. It's a line you really want to get straight and get correct, or else you're going to be chasing the whole season trying to get the right ruck structure, which can be really annoying. So I actually changed my forward line after last night because this man, Horn Francis, my goodness, he just looked in absolute great form in the Indigenous All-Stars game. Now, whether this actually converts over to Port Adelaide, because we know Port have a lot of strong midfielders that kind of run through. We did see reports of Horn Francis getting more mid-time last season, and it didn't really account too much. So I've got him in my team for now, just because he looked like an absolute fucking weapon last night. He looked in such good form. This is a drive to go get the ball and just commit to picking up the ball, even laying some tackles and whatnot. Those contested possessions were just really, really good. And he was able to slot through a couple of goals. I think he got 3 for the night. So I dare say Horn Francis has to be a lock for the most part. I don't think he's probably going to go below 5.15. I think from there he's just going to go up. So I think he's a lock. The other person is Rankin as well that people might have is kind of more of a poddy option. Potentially, he looked okay. He didn't really do too much exciting stuff last night. But again, there is obviously the concern that there is a lot of movement around the Adelaide midfield as well, because you got Dawson, you got Draper, you got Peatling, you got a few others that are going to be running through. So where does that leave like Rankin in regards to the pecking order of coming through that midfield? McRae, I think, just has to be a lock. You can't really knock back McRae at this value. The other person to value is Daniel. I watched Daniel in the match sim yesterday. Absolute gun. He's a lock. If you don't have Daniel, I don't know what you're doing. Just get him in your team, lock him in, and just don't try to pot him, please. Sanders is another one. Now, I'm going to raise Parker here as well. So you can see here now mids, we've got, I'll quickly just touch on the watch list for the mids before we go into the forwards. So we've got Will Ashcroft, we've got Sarah, and we've got the rookies. Now, those two mid prices are, again, very dependent on the rookie structure. What it could end up being is that we just go, the midfield's number 2. So it could be Rosie instead of Butters, Brayshaw instead of Sarong. And then what that means, it gives us a little bit more freedom to potentially bring in another mid-pricer, such as like Ashcroft or Sarah. Now, Sarah is good when he's in form, and we know what he can average. It's early hundreds, which is good for his price. That means he's going to generate some cash. I mean, we can pretty much use him as a stepping stone. And same for Ashcroft. Ashcroft actually was very influential and impactful at the end of last season. Whether he has that consistently, I know a lot of people are assuming he's probably going to be 2 or 3 in regards to the pecking order in the midfield. Because obviously you got Neely, you got Dunkley, and you got a few others that may come up from half forward, half back to assist in influencing where that ball goes. Now, yeah, we have Ashcroft in our team at the moment. Whether that stays is questionable. Again, the midfield is probably the most thing I'm unsure about, because there's a lot of good rookies that we could potentially get some on-field scores from, while getting some good cash gen. And then just plan to upgrade with that cash gen. So we're pretty much banking some cash and waiting for some top tier prices to drop down. Obviously, Bont is a very important one. Price is very high, but will he drop a little bit? He won't go under 600. I think everyone can safely assume that. But is it worth saving the 40K to trade up to him? Essentially, like, it's not. You're probably going to be using 3 trades, so a lot of people are locking in Bont and Butters. Rightfully so. Butters is a machine. But again, just toying with the structure, depending on how the rookies are. So jumping back into the forward line, Sanders and Parker are very much on the watch list. Now, Parker, in regards to the match sim, looked pretty good. He's that kind of heavy body, that a tough head that kind of run through, and he's just going to be going after that ball irrespective of who's with him or who's chasing him after it, which is good. He did get moved to the B team, or the pink side, halfway through. Some people assume it's to strengthen that up. I'm not entirely too sure. He did have a fairly split mid to CBA time, CBAs to forward time. Obviously, it's a intra-club match. Like, they're not going to be going all out here. Might be a bit different in the practice matches. So I haven't put him in here just yet. And instead, I've kind of replaced him with Garcia. Now, this is the assumption. Again, this is going to be a watch as well. So Garcia, Kako, Stone, Davidson are all on the watch list, as well as Hewitt. There are a few other names like Marek as well that kind of come up. All these guys are on the watch list. Now, we've seen Daniel. He's gone awesome. Garcia, we're yet to see. Haven't seen too many reports on him, but the assumption is that because the midfield is now lacking, especially with Sinclair out, that Garcia is probably 3rd in line to jump in. And we both know what he's like. He's a hound for a tackle. He's just so impactful in regards to tackling and just having that effect in the midfield, which I think St Kilda are really going to need. So it'll be interesting to see where Garcia kind of falls in that pecking order, hoping that he can generate some good on-field points and generate some good cash, because he's only 243. So very interesting. Kako, from a small forward perspective, really good. In his practice match against Bulldogs, he proved that he's quick on his feet, has some pretty good IQ in regards to decision-making. He wasn't just handballing it off to anyone that was close nearby. He actually took time and gave himself the ability to take his time with decisions to pass to the best available option, not necessarily looking for the quickest handball out or anything like that. Shows he's got some fancy kicks to him. He can be creative. He's got a bit of flair to him. At the moment, I don't know if he's going to be like a fast generation or a bit of a slow burn. Really depends on seeing what happens when we obviously got Parrish out. So there's a few things dependent on when Parrish comes back in, what will happen. But generally speaking, we're probably looking to load off these guys, round 4 to 6, depending on how the cash gen goes. We've got Hewitt there, we've got Stone, we've got Davidson. Davidson actually looked not too bad in their practice match. There's really not much more to say. He would be a slow burn based on what I've seen and reports based on that. Stone seems to be playing really well in the A team in regards to playing in the back line. I think it was the half back role. So he seems to be getting involved, which is really, really good. Obviously, if we can get a forward player that's actually playing back in defense, then that's perfect. That's easy points for us. And then Hewitt. I think Hewitt and Marek, I think everyone's just got a lot of hopes that and like someone like Bo Allen, they've generated a lot of noise and their prospects are high to get in the best 22. But whether that is reality is yet to be seen. So practice matches will reveal kind of who's probably the better pick out of those boys. And that's generally where we're at. As we can see, the structure is never finalized. It's still very, very early, and it's very dependent on the rookies and how they go and when we can kind of slot them in. You obviously either go like a bit more of a rookie heavy side, get some mid prices in there only when available, and then just kind of pick your guns and go from there. Again, at the moment, still toying. I don't mind this. There was a team setup in which I had mainly mid prices. It was Richards, it was Rosie, it was Brayshaw, Oliver, Heatling, then it was Sheasel, Whitfield, Roberts, Kirch, Mills, and then a rookie, and then it was McRae, Sanders, Parker, Hugo, Marek, and Daniel. Like there's opportunities to make that sort of layout. Again, you're missing out on like those top line players though. So you're kind of banking on the fact that either these players are going to be keepers or they're going to make you enough to potentially just do a sideways trade to one of the top liners, which I think is important to note that you kind of want, at least starting out, you want to have a few top liners in your team just to help give you that little bit of buff. But that's it. That's my thoughts for the moment. Not really sure on the consistency and when videos are going to be coming out. Once the round does start, we'll obviously do like 2 videos a week. We'll do like a review and then we'll do like our plans for the team. So we'll be a minimum of 2 a week once the season starts. Up until then, it'll probably be just once a week just to recap, some main reports, some rookies, some changes to the team. So there's not going to be too much, but you will see me around the community, jumping into other channels' live streams, in the comment section, being very involved on X/Twitter with the community as well. So if you see me around there, say hi. Don't forget league code up here if you want to join Open League and just have some bragging rights. As I say, if we reach 200 subs, there will be some prizes to give out in the Open League. So good stuff. I'm very excited. I miss footy. I miss Supercoach. So good to have my addictive hobby back. Let me know what you guys think of your team structure. If there's any rookies that you are absolutely sure on have got locked in. And yeah, if you got any questions or if you've got any concerns about my team and you're like, hey, what the hell are you doing? Just leave a comment. Give me some constructive criticism. Let's see how it goes. That's it, guys. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, day, or night, and I'll see you guys in the next video.